welcome everybody. This is the next episode in our series of pre-match, reviews or looking forward, chatting with teams and fans from opposing teams that the Matildas are set to face. In this instance, we've got our old friend Veronica, who's joining us all the way from Sweden, as the Matildas are set to play Sweden in 1 week's time from today. So what we're hoping to do today is to have a little chat about the upcoming game, but also to talk more generally about our excitement for the World Cup next year. We've recently had all the tickets go on sale, so there's been a lot of hype and talk and excitement around that. And what we might do as well is look back to the most recent tournament that's been played that Veronica was lucky enough to attend, so the European Championships that took place a few months ago. So I guess to get us started, Maj, can you talk to us a little bit about how Australia is viewing the upcoming game against Sweden in terms of tournament preparation and where we stand?
Yeah, I think, so yes, Maj here from Matildas Active. I think this is a really important game for Australia. We have been sort of having some really tough opponents, and with not a great deal of, huge wins under our belts recently, but I feel like we've been getting some good momentum in our recent games, and it'll be really nice, I think, to see how we shape up against a top team like Sweden. And especially since, we have had some fairly recent, going back to the Olympics as well. So it'll be a nice, I think, test for us to sort of see how far we've progressed under Tony Gustafsson as well, in implementing the type of game that he wants us to play. So I'm really excited to see how we go. And it really looks like Sweden's sending a very strong team over as well, looking at the squad that was announced by them. So I'm really, really excited for it.
Just bouncing off of that, Veronica, what are your thoughts about this game in terms of the squad you are sending? Do you think that it's an important game for your preparation?
Yeah, because I was looking at because he's not sending one of maybe the best players we have, Fridolina Rolfö. She's playing in Barcelona. Yeah. And that was a bit surprising because it was like so on the newspapers and everything. It was like, why not Fridolina? And he made it clear that he's going to test other people on that position. Mm-hmm. So if she was joining, it was like, read it between the lines, she's not going to play anyway. Mm-hmm. So, but it was a bit surprising. So we will see what that's what's going to happen. Because one of the ones that I was looking forward to see was a girl that plays in Juventus. Her name is Nildén in the surname, but she got injured now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who he's going to send now then. But we have like a young team. The old ones are starting to get. Like Caroline Seger, our captain, she's injured now, but she's planning to come back. She's like really in rehab. But it's good that she's not there now. So now they can try other people because everything is also been focused on her all the time. She's so important, but I mean, she's 37 now. So come on, it's just going to be 2 more years. So we need other people in that position. So he says that he's going to try a lot of not new players, but try other people on other positions. Mm-hmm. But it's still very important. And I mean, it's a good team, and the World Cup is around the corner, and we're just looking forward to it. So we can't wait for next year.
Thank you. That's great. Do you think that overall your team has a good balance in terms of ages? I don't know a lot about the Sweden squad, but are a lot of players on the older side and you're needing to get some new blood in? Or
yeah, we need to get the new blood in because a lot of players are between 33 and of course they can play, but you know, if they get injured, they're probably going to be away for a longer time than if you get injured when you're 23. And so there's a lot of people there, but there's been the same squad for a long time, and the ones that are like 23 to 26, they're not the youngest ones, but they are stepping forward now. So maybe not
they're
the
your
ones that
players
18.
that you want performing, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I hope for them to, you know, start shine a bit. Of course, we have this girl, Hannah Bennison. She's playing for Everton. She's like one of the stars in the world, the youngest player, you know, the brightest and promising future. But she's been good when she's been playing, but she's still, you know, she's, how you can say, you know, when you see her on the pitch, she needs to, you'll be a bit stronger. It's the, you meet the big sisters now, not the, you need to be more aggressive and not so nice all the time, even though fair play, yes, but sometimes you need to.
She'll be coming up against a midfield of Katrina Gorry and Alex Chidiac, so they'll be sure to be nipping at her ankles, no doubt.
But you have a great goalie. I mean, my team, I support Rosengård here in Sweden, and I don't know if I pronounce her name right, but Tiga Maika.
Yes,
She's playing for the team that I share for in Sweden, and she's doing really well. She just won the Swedish championship.
Yes. So Tegan's a great player. So it's the goalkeeping position for the Matildas is an interesting one at the moment, because you've sort of got the experienced head of Lydia Williams, but she's not really getting game time for PSG at the moment. So it's wondering whether or not Tegan's might be getting the nod to become the preferred goalkeeper. But it's an interesting position for them.
She's done really well here, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, getting that game time, that club game time, it's really, it's really good to see it. I guess it's like when you've got one of your keepers not getting that game time, it's fantastic to see Tegan doing so well there in Sweden.
I have a question about, we had a player in my team where I support here in Sweden, Charlotte Grant. Is she on the pitch?
Absolutely.
Because she was transferred now to she plays for another team now, to Vitso. Oh yeah.
With Katrina Gorry and Claire Polkinghorn as well, a couple up. So there's 3 Aussies there now at that team. And Charlie has really stepped up in the last year in the absence of Ellie Carpenter. So she did her ACL in the Champions League final, and Charlie has really stepped into her very high performing shoes to fill, and has been one of our sort of more consistent performers, I think. And I think a lot of people have been really, really happy with her performances over the last year as to how she's been able to step up there. And the Matildas' defense has always been a bit of a sore point for us. So having Charlie be able to really step up her game, I think having Ellie Carpenter come back into the team at some stage in the future, I don't think we won't see her against Sweden, but when Ellie comes back, it'll give some really great depth having Charlie playing so well as in that position as well.
Yeah, I liked her. I really liked to see her playing, but she didn't get too much time, so that's why I understand if she went to another team.
Yeah, she's a big engine, can sort of run all day, and so that's what you want in a fullback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So Veronica, would you say that the main thing you're hoping to see from the Swedish team in this coming game is for some of the younger players to really take the opportunity and prove that they've got kind of what it takes to step into those big shoes?
Yeah, I hope. I mean, we need to try to. I think he's right when he says that we need to try something new, something different. Just try. It's a friendly, but still we need to try new players. So we will see, and I hope, because I think we've always been the sore point for us is always has been the strikers. It's always on. Our defense are really good. It's still really good, but it just the strikers. It's mostly. It feels like I don't have the statistics, but it's like okay, it's a corner, and then a defender like Amanda Ilstedt. She plays the PSG. She's like 2 meters, I think. No, but she's really tall, and she just do a header. You know, so it's always the defense that makes goals. So it's like, come on now. We need some strikers that go on goal, not, you know, out and then try to lift it in, just towards the goal. So I hope there's some hungry players that just go for it. So we will see.
I mean, you've got some decent attackers there, but yeah, maybe they're just not that. They're not that prolific, I guess. But you know, you got Black Stenius and Hurtig as well. So you've definitely got some weapons.
I mean, we do, but it's just like okay. So I saw the game against France last month, and we won with 3-0, and it was a good. It's been a long time since I've seen Sweden play such a attacking football, not the defense, but just attack. And so we won with 3-0. Okay, it was still a friendly, but we enjoyed it and we looked like we had fun, and it wasn't. We just tried new things, and I was so happy when I was like, this is the Sweden we should have had in the Euros. Not we're a bit late, but well, for the World Cup we might change the tax at least. We will see.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so on the Euros, what was how did you feel about your performance there? I mean, you made it through to the semi-final. Maybe you don't want to actually talk about the semi-final itself, but you come up against a juggernaut of an England team.
If you lose with 4-0, there's no excuses. England was much better. I saw England. We had tickets to England-Spain on the quarterfinal. And we just thought, you know, we're going to lose if Spain wins, because Spain was in the lead with 1-0.
Yeah.
And then in the 83 or 4th minute, because Spain was much better the whole.
And they didn't have the legs in the end, did they?
So 84th minute or something, there was 1-1, and then they start. You can see because I was like, oh my God, they start yelling at each other now. So the Spanish people, they talk a lot with their bodies. So they were like, I don't know what they were saying, but they were yelling at each other like, well, why didn't you run? Why didn't you? You can see what they were sort of saying. And then they collapsed. They collapsed after the 84th minute when England scored. But I said to my friends that I was traveling with that, I said, doesn't matter who wins. We're going to get kicked, our asses kicked if we play the way we play. Been playing the whole tournament. So I don't know what it was. I have no clue, but I'm not going to make excuses, but I think when we lost the final in the Olympics, it was just that everything just went, you know, we had to lick our wounds to come back, and we didn't have it wasn't as bad as 2017. That was the Sweden I saw then when it was in Holland, the World European Cup then. I had never seen them that bad. But now I thought they did okay. They lost against England. England was so good. We didn't have a chance. We shouldn't. If we had won that game, it wouldn't be fair. But that's the way in football. But we didn't have a chance. So to be honest, but the Euros this time, I've been watching Euros since a couple of, I don't know, 16 years back at least. I've been on the Euros, seeing them, and this year it was all the teams that we always should knock out. They were really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Iceland. I saw Iceland play against Italy.
Austria
and it was a really good game.
Austria were tough. Switzerland were tough.
Exactly. So it was really good. So now it's not the top ones. It starts shrinking now. So that's good actually. So I do enjoy that. It's not going to be. I mean, who would have thought that England would win with, was it 8-0, 7 or 8 against Norway? I mean, that was just like a big shocker.
Yes.
And but that besides that, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like 11-0 or, it was quite okay between the top ones and the lower ones. So I did enjoy it actually, and my friends did as well, even though we didn't go through the whole way, but we weren't that bad. But I hope when I saw the game against France, I got some hope again that we could beat. And as long as if we go through this group stage, and haven't looked who we're going to meet, if I haven't done that yet. But I mean, everyone wants to beat USA. So I hope, I don't know how, but if we would meet them, that would be great.
I think you could be on their side of the draw, I think, in the World Cup.
I haven't looked yet.
Yeah. But speaking of, back to the Euros again, one thing that I loved watching from over here in Australia was the Swedish fans. You guys were absolutely out in force, and I know we sort of saw the soft hooligans banner up sort of behind the goal as well. So what was that experience like in being in the stands?
I mean, that was the best thing ever. I've never seen. When I started, I traveled on my own when I went to in the World Cup in Canada, and we met up. We had my friend had made that, my friend now that I met there made a Swedish fans in Winnipeg, because we played 2 games in Winnipeg, and we were like 9 people that showed up like in a bar and just had a drink. And now I travel with 3 of them always, all on the World Cup, Euros, and so on. And it was just, and now when we're like 3,000, it was just, I said before that we call ourselves the yellow wall.
Yes.
All yellows. Swedish flag is blue and yellow, but we always dress yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the singing, everything was organized so well. We meet at that bar, and organized everything so well. So as a supporter, you had just to show up, because everything was provided for you, the information, everything. So soft hooligans, they did a tremendous job with all the singing and so everyone learned the chants and everything. And just that we have different chants. When we're walking, there's a chant. When we're standing, in the arena, but mainly we don't have a nickname like you have, like the Matildas. But we, in every support, it always singing about blue and yellow.
Yeah.
The colors, blue and yellow. Of course, we sing about Sweden, but in the end, it's just like we chant blue and yellow. That's the main thing in all the chants. In the end, it's always blue and yellow. So
yeah, it looks great. It looks great in the stadium.
It was amazing, amazing. Never seen that. From 9 people to 3,000. It was amazing.
So are you coming to New Zealand and Australia?
That's the hard thing to say, but probably it's 99% chance that I can't, just because of the World Cup. The last 2 World Cups has been in June, and June is the perfect month to take your vacation, because no one wants to be off in June. In the middle of July and August, that's everyone in Sweden wants to go. So that's those weeks. It was when I saw the weeks, I said to my friends, I'm so sorry, it's going to be impossible for me to be off those weeks. So this time I don't know. Yeah, I was so sad when I saw it was in July, because in June there's no problem, because I want to stay there, because it's a long way. So I was planning to stay maybe for 5 or 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stay. It's impossible. So, but the good thing is that even though I work night shifts, and I can see all the games.
Welcome
to
our
see
world.
all the games.
Lots of coffee, setting 5
Exactly.
alarms for every game, so you make sure you don't sleep through them.
Yeah, it must be. I'm so spoiled here, because it's just all these Euros, and it's so usual for us to have the World Cup over there. Okay, Olympics as well. When you had Olympics, was the same thing there. Yeah, so sorry I can't make it this time, but I will. It's on my bucket list to go there, and I have been invited to a few friends that I met along the way when the World Cups has been from us. I've been a few times there with you guys standing in the bar and meet all your Aussie. It's just been great. So, but this time I have to watch it from Sweden.
Oh, that's sad.
We
We
will
won't
miss
see
you.
here. Yeah. But I'm sure you'll send some. There'll be some great Sweden representatives traveling down to hopefully
They
make
will be.
their wall of
They
yellow
will be.
again.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. They just it's just getting there. We it's just it was so nice to see that it was so many this time. Because the men's football always been a lot of supporters, and now it was a lot of like I said, it was over 3,000. That's for us is amazing because on the arenas were like 15,000 sometimes. So we took over a big part of it because they put us in the same spot as well. And the first game when we met Netherlands, they had a lot of supporters as well, but we sang the hell out of them. So, so they couldn't have a chance when we sang about blue and yellow. I don't know what they were singing about, but and this in the same with so when Iceland was playing, it was, I mean, there's only 300,000 something
in the country.
people in Iceland, and I think everyone was there. I mean, I don't know who was still left in the country, but it's just amazing what the supporters in Iceland. I think I'm so impressed of that small nation like Iceland. I'm like, so I said to my friends that, I mean, there must be 3,000 of them here as well. I mean, I think it's just amazing how they can make both the men's and women's team are quite good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bottle whatever magic they've got going
exactly.
on there.
Maybe just circling back to the upcoming game, Maj, could you talk to us a little bit about what Australian fans are kind of looking for, and or what our coach is looking to get out of this game, you know, in terms of tournament preparation? And we've spoken about how Sweden's looking to try new people for positions that maybe have historically been some older players. So what about Australia?
I think Tony, I think Tony has started talking about wanting to get some consistency in sort of in the squad that he's starting to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think the games that we had over in Europe against Spain and Portugal, there were a lot of our top players were out, and he was giving them a bit of a rest. So a lot of players that maybe haven't gotten a lot of time got a bit more time in those games. And then we have had a few more injuries since then as well. So it maybe hasn't been what his preferred, possibly what his preferred teams were going into some of our more recent games. But I think the last games that we've had, you know, against Canada, a couple of windows ago, and more recently our games against South Africa and Denmark, I think people, even though we were missing Tamika Yallop and also Emily Van Egmond, but people were very excited to see some of the other players who've been sort of knocking on the door, getting some good game time in those games, and feeling like it was really clicking sort of in midfield a little bit more than we had. So with Alex Chidiac being able to bring a lot of new energy to the midfield. I think she's very much a fan favorite, and someone that a lot of fans want to see in the squad for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I wouldn't think we will see anything too dramatically different to what we've had for the last couple of friendly games. What the question might be is because an Emily Van Egmond, who wasn't available for the last couple of games, is listed in this squad, and she's one of those players. It's a bit of a hard one she's been very much a starter for the Matildas fairly regularly, but because of the pressure from some of the other players, like your Alex Chidiacs, even your Claire Wheeler, who was she? I think she was named in the squad here. She wasn't in the last squad as well. But a lot of people are now saying, well, Emily's best in that 10 position, but there's a lot of competition there with Mary Fowler as well, as an option. And then your Alex Chidiacs. So does Emily Van Egmond come back into a starting position? I think a lot of people are questioning whether or not that will happen, or if it should happen. Maybe she's going to be more of a luxury coming off the bench, because she has come up. Yeah, she has come up clutch for us quite a few times in big games, and she's one of those mercurial types of players. She can just pull something out, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, I think, what happens in that midfield space, where Tony might start settling as to what that preferred setup there is. I think also in the back line, he seems to really be trusting sort of, your Claire Polkinghorns and your Ivy Lewis there. But Alana Kennedy has been injured as well. So that's another sort of big player that we've been missing in the last couple of windows, who you would expect would come back in if she's fit and healthy. And I don't think she is in the squad. I should have actually looked up the squad before shouldn't
Yes,
I?
I should have as well.
But she hasn't been playing, because I think she has had a shoulder injury. But that's probably the upside, in that we've got players like Kennedy and Ellie Carpenter to still come back into the team, which only adds quality, I think. But it's been really great. I think we've got Steph Catley back. She'd been injured a few windows ago, but she came back in the last few friendlies and was, her usual wonderful self. And Caitlin Ford has also been in some fantastic form recently for the Matildas, and also in Clubland for Arsenal as well. So
well for Arsenal,
yeah. So I think there's some good signs there. So maybe we can harass that very strong Sweden defense a little bit. So I actually think it'll be a great matchup, because I think similarly against Canada, I was wanting to see how when we do have some fantastic attacking players, and I was looking forward to see how they were going to go against a very strong defensive team in Canada. And I think the same thing applies for Sweden. We need to be able to better work out how we break down these really well organized teams. So I think that'll be a great test, and especially now the good signs with the midfield starting to look a little bit more energetic and connecting with our attackers a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see. I feel like we're always going to ship a few goals, so you might actually get some goals, Veronica. So
that's okay.
I feel like it's just inevitable. I don't expect clean sheets from the Matildas anymore. Something will always be given away. It's more about can we score more. So hopefully it'll be a really entertaining game on Saturday as well.
Absolutely. And I guess looking forward to the World Cup tournament next year, the fixtures have been announced, so we know who we're up against in the group stages. In terms of Australia, we're with Canada, Republic of Ireland, and Nigeria. And then Sweden, I think, is up against South Africa, Italy, and Argentina. So, some very competitive sides in both groups. Maj, is there any one game in particular that you think is going to be a particular challenge for the Matildas, or do you think, what are your thoughts about the groups and the opponents who've been drawn with?
Yeah, I think overall, there was some discussion in Australia that we got a group of death, which, I mean, it's not the easiest group that we could have gotten, but I don't think there really is a group of death out of the entire draw. I think there's, in most cases, the way the rankings have fallen, that there's probably two fairly favoured teams in each of the groups. But I mean, I think from a Matildas point of view, and I know we chatted a lot about this in our Matildas chat when the draw was happening. We probably got our games in a really good order, in that we're up against Republic of Ireland first up in Sydney, which will be a huge game. I think the tickets have been snapped up. Like, there's they were sold, all of the different phases that have come out have sold out really quickly. So no doubt there's going to be lots of the Irish expats and the backpackers absolutely packing out the stadium along with Matildas fans. So it's going to be a raucous opening Matildas game and first game in Australia, because of course New Zealand have the opening game of the entire tournament. And then we've got Nigeria as our second game. So and then Canada, probably, the toughest game as our third game. So that's probably a really good order to have the games in. So Republic of Ireland will absolutely be tough. But I mean, if the Matildas are expecting to get out of the group, we should expect and we should be able to beat Republic of Ireland. That's not, saying that the easy beats at all. But if we want to be good enough to get through to the knockout rounds, they're a team that we should be beating. And the same with Nigeria. Will be a fantastic game in Brisbane. But yeah, it's probably a good order to have our games in. So hopefully, if we do the job against Republic of Ireland and Nigeria, then there isn't as much pressure going into the probably the toughest game of our group against Canada. So I think we're pretty happy with that. But Veronica, your group, how are you feeling about it? I actually think that looks like a fairly good group for Sweden.
To be honest, I have no clue about. I mean, Italy. I saw 2 games with them live in the Euros, and they are so funny because everyone wants to attack. No one wants to defend. Everyone wants to attack. Everyone wants to attack. So quite fun to see them, going 9 people attacking. Then who's left? And because they were like hungry. But South Africa and Argentina, to be honest, I have no clue about these teams.
Yeah, well, we played South Africa recently, so we played them over in London just in the last window. Yeah, and I mean the Matildas got a good win against them, but yeah, I mean they've got some great players. I think they did pick up a goal against us on a counter attack, so I think they will be dangerous on the counter. But yeah, but similarly, I haven't seen a lot of Argentina either. So, but yeah, I think we always, when we're looking at the South American teams, we sort of always look to Brazil. But I think people have been telling me to keep an eye out for Colombia coming out of South America. That they really have been putting in some great investment into their into women's football, and I think their was it under 17s team, I think was just in the final as well. So I think there's some top talent coming out of Colombia, so they might be ones to keep an eye on. But
yeah, so my expectation is that we win the group. I know that, but it's just we should.
Yep.
But I don't know anything about the other teams. But then I would have heard of them, that player, because if they come to Europe, you just sort of pick up. So maybe I know a few players, South African players, but to be honest, I have no clue about Argentina players. And maybe they play here in Europe. I have no clue because I haven't picked up the names yet.
Yep. Do some scouting over the next few months.
Of course. Because when I saw the group, I was like, I saw yours, I saw the drawing, and I saw your group, and I'm like, oh my God, Canada, Nigeria. Nigeria is, we met them, now it's a long time since we met them, but they just, it's kind of fun to watch at least. I haven't seen them for a while now, but it's a good group that you have. It's going to be interesting.
It is. I think every game is going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, Nigeria, Oshuala, just immediately, she's what a threat. So, but in a way, I might eat my words if we don't end up getting out of the group. But in a way, I think it can be better to have a more challenging group to continue up in tournament football. So just getting getting too easy of a, because I think we found that in the Asian Cup. We made it through the group stage very comfortably and then got knocked out in the quarterfinal. So a lot can be said for going in and having some tough games in your group stages to just have you switched on from the very beginning. So I think I'm really looking forward to our games. I think they'll all be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and your home support is just going to be amazing with so many supporters, that it's going to lift. We always talk about the 12th player. That's the supporters.
For sure.
So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and we're definitely hoping that, the profile of the women's game is going to be lifted with the hosting rights. I think there's still a little bit in Australia of the women's game being overlooked a bit in favour of the men's, and there's nothing like a game of live football in your own city to get people's attention and bolster up the crowds and the support. So
I think what's a little bit different about Australia is that we're very multi-sport, and football/soccer is probably not the number one sport in the country. So I think a lot of the casual fans who may well still be, they'll come because Australian fans do love their sport though. So they will turn up to events. So there will be lots of fans just going to the games because they do love an event. But I think a lot of people are probably underestimating how big it's going to be. And I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they see the excitement and the vibe and just how many people travel as well, and how big the whole event actually is. So I'm really looking forward to, I guess, a lot of the Australian sports fan, general sports fan, and even the general Australian media just really catching on to how big women's football is, having that in our backyard.
And I mean, early signs are good with ticket sales. We've had games selling out. So I think some of the smaller stadiums are selling out as well as the big games in the bigger stadiums. So
yeah, I think so along with the Australian games, China and England are playing in Adelaide, which is one of the smaller stadiums, but it's one of the best football stadiums in Australia. So that Chinese community, I think, will absolutely come out. We've got lots of Chinese community here in Australia, so they're absolutely going to come out in numbers. I was at the basketball World Cup that was in Sydney just at the end of September, and we played China in the quarterfinal, semi-final, and they outsung us.
Yeah, wow.
So they were so much louder. So I think England, are probably expecting that they might have a lot of expats as well in Australia, but I think maybe that game against China might actually find that the crowd is might be a little bit more on cheering on the China side. So I think there's going to be some great games like that around the World Cup as well.
Absolutely.
I was a bit surprised that England didn't have any sort of chance. Nothing. It was just in the end, Sweet Caroline. It was just didn't have any songs and anything. It's just like, what?
Well, I mean, I guess it's one of those things. It's like that's what we're trying to do with Matildas Active, is try and coordinate some of that. And maybe with the English fans, it seems like maybe there isn't a group to just get everyone on the same page. And when that's sort of what it feels like a little bit. Whereas, the Sweden fans, you had your organisers who sort of were setting up the chants, letting everyone, okay, this is what we're doing now, and sort of coordinating the fan effort a bit.
And it's a lot of the chants are being taken from maybe some of the men's teams here in Sweden, but they changed it to the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we don't have really, but that's from that. Hammarby is a good Swedish team with a lot of the men's team, Stockholm team, and they have a lot of culture and the history, and there is the working team and the workers, and there's so we took that not we, the ones that organized it, took that a chant from them that's kind of easy.
Mhm.
And the lyrics are quite easy to remember, because that's important. If no one knows the lyrics, then it's just so they just stood there and just, because everyone had heard this chant, but the song, but maybe not the lyrics, so they changed the lyrics, and we didn't care. It was from that team. It was about Sweden and being blue and yellow, so we're like, let's go for it. It's blue and yellow. Then we go.
Beautiful.
So it was good.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Maybe the thing you're looking forward to the most for the World Cup?
Just
Veronica?
good games. For me, it's just good games, and just I'm so happy now that they can see a lot of games. Even though I was heartbroken when so it was in July. I couldn't. I know that 99% I can't go. But it just okay. But I can still watch it, even though I work long hours when I'm working. But and I just, because there's always a team that's going to bloom that we don't really sure of which team yet. But it's always a team that where did they come from? And
That's always fun.
I don't know what team it's going to be, but that's the love of the sport. Because if you don't get the ball in the nets, then if it goes to penalties or something, anything can happen.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that surprising team.
Well,
Whatever it is, which team.
I am just looking up the draw and what the brackets look like. So you are on track for an interesting round of 16, because you are lined up to likely come up against USA or Netherlands.
Okay. Oh.
So yeah. So your group is probably looking pretty good, but then the next step is looking a little tougher. What and you know what, I've already gone and bought myself the round of 16 game in Sydney, because I looked at that one and went, well, that could be USA Netherlands versus Sweden or Italy. That could be a good one.
Yes.
All right. Any final thoughts, Maj, or we're happy to wrap up?
No, I'm just excited. Hopefully we both get what we want out of the game on Saturday. I know that's a little incompatible, but hopefully, I mean, if you're gonna picking the Matildas is probably a good team if you're wanting to see your team score a little bit more. Given our defensive issues, but I hope to see our defense sort of hold up well, and really looking forward to it. It'll be a great challenge and a great game on Saturday in Melbourne.
Agree, because our both are the main characters in my team. Kosovar Aslani and Caroline Seger are out. They're not going to, because they're both. I don't know what Kosovar, but if she has a feeling I don't know what injury she has now, but I don't think it's but she's not going to join for the squad.
Right.
But then I'm going to looking forward to which persons is going to put in the middle in the midfield. That's going to be interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. He said that he's going to try new players, and I hope he keep his promise, because I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time, Veronica, and to you as well, Maj. You've been listening to the Matildas Active Support chat to a long-standing fan of the Swedish women's national team. And we will see you in the next episode.